Hey everybody, welcome to Workforce Gaming. I am Brad, here with Doug.
Eight.
This is an interesting one. Clair Obscur Expedition 33. So,
Yeah.
to kind of set the stage for this, I love turn-based games. I saw this thing, I was like, oh
hmm
my god, this is what I've been waiting for forever. I pre-ordered this thing 6 months ago. So pumped. You, I believe, went,
Yeah.
that has like a 91 on Metacritic. Holy shit, I should buy this. And then you bought it.
I, f- I feel like I very smartly pre-order games. Like I wait till reviews come out. I think it's smart. I don't think I believe in every game. I'll wait for the reviews to come out before I pre-order.
No matter how big, how small, I wait for the review.
Exactly.
I think just to kind of put this in perspective here, I think both of us think this is a
Yeah.
fantastic game. I think this
Yes.
game has done tremendous things for a genre that needs more attention, as I have Tales of Grace's remaster sitting on my shelf, as I've just finished up playing through some old Final Fantasies. Like, this is what I need. This is what I want. So I'm very excited about this. I know you absolutely love this game.
Yeah.
I do think this is one of those games, though, where it's like, it has some things that just really got me.
I think this game. How do I feel about this game? It's doing so many. I'll say new, and if not new, then interesting twists on things that like. I think it's just like it's a game that I consider as like swinging for the fences.
Yeah.
And when a game is swinging for the fences, it will miss really, really hard when it misses. And then like, but sometimes when that ball connects, boy, is that like it's really cool. It's just a game that I feel is doing a lot of unique things. And I'm not just saying, I know I will have a discussion about it because I know you're like, well, the turn-based stuff is kind of pretty similar to other games. Like, yeah, I'll agree to that. But it's just like, I think just the tone of this game in the realm of JRPGs, kind of like the characters and like some of the things that it's doing and just the way
Yes.
it looks, it's just doing something different in that genre.
Absolutely.
Which I think is really, really cool. And I really appreciate it. So, I mean, I'm going to have a bunch of weird complaints about this game that we'll get into. But I think overall, like I really, really, really did like it. I'm curious how the second game will go. That's like, I'm like, I bet the second game could fix a lot of this stuff. But yeah, that's kind of where I landed on it. No.
So, to get into it a little bit, I just want to say that the intro to this game is one of my favorite
Yeah.
game intros ever. It starts with just letting you sit with like characters, events, terminology in a world that you do not understand, but the way
Yeah.
that it makes everything pull together feels so good. There's this relationship between Sophia and Gustav that feels like
Mhm.
I'd been watching 6 seasons of a TV show between these two
Yes. Yeah.
after the initial 20 minutes that they're in the show. It is written that well. It feels that important, even though I could tell you literally zero details about either character
Yeah.
at the time I'm having this feeling. It conveys things without holding your hand, and it does this through the whole game. And I think as you go on, it
Yeah.
started to irritate me a little bit more because I felt like I should be getting more of a handle on things. But that
Sure. Yeah.
but it does so so if you look at Final Fantasy 16 with the like click the button to get a deep dive on anything you want button,
Yeah.
it's the
Yeah.
complete inverse of that, where it's just like, hey,
Yeah.
like we're in this world and there's the paintress and she's been doing this for 100 years and the gamage is happening and we're celebrating this event, and it's just like, I don't understand any of this, but I instantly have a connection just compared to that, like, here's what's going on. You don't get it, push the button. You know what I mean? It's
Yeah.
it's such an interesting
Yeah,
contrast to those.
Well, it's funny because like it leaves you kind of so just trying to figure out what the fuck is going on, but it just has like that very not simple, but like a really interesting relationship. So like even though I don't understand anything else that's going on, I understand that these two people really care about each other.
Yep.
And one of them dies. Like, I mean, I don't think that's too much of a spoiler to say. Like, that's just how the game
it happens in the
functions.
first like 4 minutes.
Yeah.
Spoilers
Yeah,
for
and
the
like,
first 4 minutes.
first 4 minutes. Yeah, and it just immediately sets the stakes for the game, where it's like, oh, this is going to happen to hundreds, if not thousands, of people of what this event just happened. So yeah, I mean, basically, the real quick version of it is that there's a big number off in the distance. As that number counts down, anybody who's over that number dies, and then so the number goes down from goes. Yeah, get Thanos. Yes, exactly. It goes from 34 to 33 in the opening. So the game is called Expedition 33 because now there's the 33rd expedition. People who are like, we've got to stop this. And then they go off to
Well,
like, hoorah, we're
77th.
going to stop the painters this time. Huh?
77th expedition, they were 33 years old.
77th expedition. Yeah.
Come on
Okay.
now.
All right. Geez.
Because I do
You're
think
right.
you talked about the differentiation between JRPGs, and I think that's one of the things that did strike me with this that I really liked. A JRPG cast, like if we're gonna be incredibly formulaic, is like two 16-year-olds, a two 20-year-olds, and one 58-year-old. Like that is a JRPG cast.
Who's actually 34 if you look at their actual age. Like Auron's like 32.
But he seems like he's been around for 100 years. And this one, it's like, no, these are like 33-year-olds. Like you don't see this like middle-aged people who've lived a life, who kind of have this sense of the world that they're in. And I think that plays well to the way that the game explains the world, like kind of not necessarily jumping into it, because these characters, like, yeah, they've lived a life. They know all this. They've been through this.
Yeah.
And I think that's one of the cool parts where it differentiates from a lot of JRPGs, because it is like, you don't have very many others that I can think of off the top of my head where it's like, oh yeah, these are like just middle-aged people going about their business.
Yeah. Yeah, it's cool. I mean, I think the Yakuza series kind of was like one of the first ones that kind of was like, hey, we can have like older characters in games and older characters in JRPGs. And this one kind of like continues that. It's funny, like the youngest character is 16, who would be like the main, kind of the main cast age in other games. Yeah, I mean, I think the intro is just really cool because it just immediately sets the stakes. And then you're kind of off on this adventure, like while there's all this like, language and stuff that you're trying to figure out. It's like, okay, no, we're going to go stop and like murder the paintress, which I thought was like really cool. It's like, yeah, fuck her. And then once they actually kind of get off, like that's when things start changing. And I think the thing that I was like, with just kind of the last thing on the story, because I don't want to get too much into spoilers, like I think that game sets up a really interesting mystery that does pay off.
Yeah.
I was like questioning like the entire time. It's like, okay, what does this number mean? What does the paintress mean? What does this all mean? And like they have some like really like weird twists and swerves throughout the story. That was like, all right, was a lot of these times like, can they actually land the plane? Like these are really interesting ideas. Can they land the plane? I thought, and like I just thought the answers to these questions were excellent. I freaking loved the ending of the game. Like it's I think personally one of my favorite game endings, period.
Wow.
And yeah, I really love that ending. We'll talk about our spoiler cast.
Promotion.
Yeah. And I just think that story like really paid off. So I think like just that story was really strong. So before you talk about gameplay stuff, which I personally think was strong, I have different opinions on it. I just think like that story, that question, that the answers to those questions, I think were really, really cool. And I really enjoy them. I will say though, it's very clearly pulling from other games. So you may have seen these sort of story beats in other games, but they always put their little twist on it. So there is like a little bit of like, hey, I kind of understand this. Like it's very inspired by like Final Fantasy X. It's like, okay, I think I've seen these kind of story beats, but then they twist it just a little bit. So it has this unique sort of flavor to it. I feel like that's like the entire game is like, hey, they are also playing these games that we played, and here's sort of our unique twist on it. And I think like it being a French studio, and it being extremely culturally French, it's just like really funny seeing these sort of like traditional Japanese, say, tropes now with like a French twist on it. So it just has like this very weird feeling game throughout that I both enjoyed and did not enjoy because it just felt so different. It's just a very different feeling game.
Yeah, for sure. Sticking with really cool things that I kind of, before we get into like the actual gameplay, the music in this, and I just wanted to say this now because otherwise I always forget to mention games with crazy music. The music in this is insane. There are so many that we end up with like the last 30 seconds. We're like, oh yeah, but the music in this, I think helps those heavy moments just really feel that weight. Just the piano in this, it's so good. And it's just a constant, incredible backdrop to the world that you're walking through. Every single moment, just it's written perfectly for it.
Yeah, and some of those boss fights too, like the boss fight music going into it, it's just like Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
I just remember it's like, especially when you're fighting like a very powerful character, it's like, boy, this song is like really. It's like there's a lot. Like the songs have a lot of lyrics, which I think is like not super common. Like in a lot of games, like they'll have like a song with lyrics, but like there's actually a lot of songs with like lyrics. And like when those lyrics start hitting, especially there's some like songs with duets that are like super cool. It's like man, this is just like absolutely rocking that music. And I honestly like that will hit you the second you get to the start screen. Like I felt like
not even that, like just the home screen on the PlayStation, even.
Yeah. Oh, sure. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, but it like to me it had that sort of like when you start a Final Fantasy game, the Final Fantasy music starts playing.
Yep.
It's just like, oh, there's something like interesting and heavy about playing like a Final Fantasy game when that Final Fantasy music. It has that same feeling. You've never heard this song before. It's an incredible song. It's like, oh, I'm about to like play like a very epic JRPG or whatever. Like it
Yeah.
just has that hit in a way that other games don't. I think like Nier is probably the most recent game where maybe I had that kind of feeling too, where it's like just
Good
that
stuff there.
where that music is such like a strong part of this game, and yeah, the music is just, oh my god, it's incredible.
Yeah. I'm going to keep deflecting away from gameplay because I don't want to get negative really quick here. So other things that I really liked. This game is
so funny.
super linear, and as a Final Fantasy 13
yeah.
defender, because I think Final Fantasy 13 is nowhere near as bad as this game is Final Fantasy 13 in terms of linearity. Like it is literally like
Yeah.
straight path, straight path, straight path. We're going to open it up for a little bit. You can go to these couple little spaces, linear.
Yeah.
All right, we'll open it up one more time, linear. Loved it. I felt like I was finding secrets left and right because all I had to do was just take a right off the path, go 20 feet, and there was something cool. I ran into hidden bosses that I feel like I can never find just out of the blue because it's just loved it. And
yeah,
I think that was like my weirdest take with it, like feeling with this is like, this is so linear. I love it. But like, why aren't people complaining about this? Like, this is the thing people should be complaining about. Final Fantasy 13 got raked over the coals for this. I loved it in Final Fantasy 13 and I'm loving it here, but why are we all okay with this? Did we all grow up and understand that this can be a good thing?
I think, honestly, that's the reason I don't have a mini map. I think if you showed the map, people would just take screenshots of like, it's just a straight line with like one little like twig going out, like an arm, like a branch that you go down like a hallway and you turn around, you get there to come back. It's like, they said, and it's funny, they're like, and it actually does kind of have this feel too, where like they have objective markers, but they don't have like side quests that it's tracking.
Yep.
And it doesn't have mini maps. So it very much feels like an older Final Fantasy game or an older JRPG, which I think is like cool. I especially like the fact that there's like with the side quests and stuff that they're not showing you which side quests you, so you kind of have to like remember.
Mm-hmm.
You just have to remember which ones you want to do it, and which I thought was like really cool. I do think though, actually the level design is the environments I think are not distinct looking enough to justify not having a mini map, because you can get so free. They are really linear and you can still get super turned around.
I didn't understand. Yeah. Like there were so many times where it's like, this level is tiny. How have I been lost 4 times? Like I swear I've walked past this thing 3 times. Like I swear I went right and maybe I should have gone. I get why you wouldn't put a mini map in it, because I do think it would give you that feeling so quickly. But at the same time, like we need to, if you're gonna not have the map, there's no justification for me getting lost in this type of game. Like it just, there were 1 or 2 levels in particular where it literally just felt like there was like a central hub and like 6 circles that all just led back there. And you had to like remember which of the paths did I go down, because if I went down the same one or I went down the out, but I went in the in. 3 or 4 spots in particular, I felt like I was running in circles.
And I think if it had more distinct markers, and that's like one of my complaints with the game is actually the art direction in it, which is like it's going to sound very silly to people. I think at least in the earlier levels, a lot of the placement of objects in the worlds feels kind of purposeless, where it's just like, we just got to kind of fill this environment. So like, oh, we'll scale this one character model big, and then we'll turn to a statue, and then we'll have like this rock over here and this over here and this over here. Mm-hmm. So like, especially in the early levels, it's because these things aren't super distinct, it's so easy to get turned around. Well, if you play like a Final Fantasy game, like an early Final Fantasy game, like every time you move to a new screen, it's going to be something very distinctive looking. Yeah. Like I'm just thinking like Final Fantasy 9. Anytime you walk in a room, it's a new distinct room. But this one's just like long hallways with really just objects kind of placed, it seems,
lots of rocks
without a lot of purpose. Yeah, a lot of rocks, and like a lot of things like kind of floating in the sky. It really felt like really purposeless, and like it's actually my biggest turnoff with the game was actually the art direction with the environment specifically, because it felt so just object placement stuff. The thing was though, once I got to like the back half of the game where the story starts picking up, and it actually seems like the art direction gets more purposeful, which is like kind of strange, where it's like it's not just like random dungeons. Mm-hmm. I think it's like it's more like, okay, no, this scene is important because of this, and this is why the art direction is pointing this way. With the earlier stuff where there's not story-wise, it's kind of like, oh, we're just trying to figure out where to go. In some of the side dungeons where they don't really have like a story purpose, like that stuff I thought just looked so bad. You get turned around really a lot, and that was just like, that's like honestly my biggest complaint. And honestly, like I almost thought about like turning off the game. I was like, I cannot stand looking at
Oh
this
my-
game.
Okay,
Which is
so
like, but I know a lot of people think it's like really gorgeous because it's technically very good looking, but I just think like early on, it does not look great.
so I do think that's an interesting point that we both started with. This is a great game, and we both had things where we're like, "I'm done with this game," because I definitely had a moment where I was
Yeah.
done with this game too, which we'll get to in a minute. But I just think it's
Yeah.
interesting that this game that I think is just it's incredible. I'm proud to say this game exists. I love that this game exists. I had a hard moment where I was like, I think I'm done with you. I'm done.
Yeah.
I'm fed up with you.
Yeah.
So I just think that's interesting that you can. I think it's important to be able to appreciate something like this, where it's like I had moments where I was just I hate this game, but you can
Yeah.
tell how good it is.
Yeah.
So here we go.
The gameplay.
I do want to start with this. So I'm going to start on the positive, and I think this is where I think where it's different because I think you love the gameplay, correct?
um,
Okay, close enough. All
I
right,
think
we'll
it's
take that as
I,
we'll
th-
take
no,
it
no,
as
I
yes.
don't. I think it's very good.
Okay,
I
cool.
think it's very good. I don't think it's like exponentially better than other JRPG systems I've played. Like, I don't know if it's like way better than Persona system. I think it's a lot of cool stuff though that kept my interest throughout. It was the only JRPG where I was like running into battles, going like woohoo, and as opposed to like not again.
I mean, that's something in and of itself. But I do want to start with one
Yeah.
thing, which is very, again, going back to like specifically old school Final Fantasy, is every character has the most intricate system that is tied solely to that character.
So
Amazing.
good.
If you
So
go back
fucking
and you
good.
play like 4 and 6, I both played recently, where it's like these characters specifically do this thing, and that is the only character
Yeah.
that does this thing. And yeah, they have some commonality. They can all attack. They all have their gun, but each character has their own ridiculously in-depth system of like managing a battle where each one has different meters. They have different markings on things, and I absolutely love that because I think that what I would have wanted from this game is if that was the case and then it was just a traditional turn-based game, because I think that to
Sure.
me was the differentiation I'm looking for in a game now. Because yeah, like a lot of like more modern games will have like, oh yeah, this character can do this one specific skill, or this character has like clearly like your healer, and this character is clearly your attacker. All of the characters could kind of fill different roles for the most part, but they all had unique systems that made them lean one way or another. It felt very unique and very specific. That was the shakeup I was looking for a turn-based game to me.
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
rest of
No,
sorry.
no, I do want to finish on that point before you go away, because I know you're going to go away. It actually reminded those characters kind of reminded me like card games I've played, where it's just like it was really cool because you have like a deck of skills and you can only pick 6 skills for those characters, and kind of your point where you can turn characters into healers, but they're going to heal differently. Like your characters, they're not going to be like a standard healer. It's like, okay, to get Lune to heal is a little bit different than getting like I don't know, Gustav to be a healer or something like that. So like you have to understand their mechanics if you want them to be a defender or a healer or whatever. It's not like you just you assign them a cure spell and that's it. It's like, no, I have to kind of set up a few different mechanics in the background to make them work the way I want them to. It is so cool. And like the entire, and they really set you up with like all these cool options for each characters, and then the final character, I'll just say, like gives you some ungodly amount of customization that was cool that like you basically spent the entire game learning how to get to that point, and they give you that character, and that character I was like, I was like, I don't know if I'm going to like this or not. It ended up being one of my favorite characters because it's just like now you understand all these systems work. You can build your own kind of guy,
and you can kind of
really,
and you can kind of play with it how you wanted to too, and really set him up however you wanted to. One other thing before we get as negative as I can possibly get. I absolutely love to, and this is like one of my like pet peeves in like JRPGs and turn-based games. If I have a party of 8 people and these 8 people are traveling together and 4 people die, the other 4 don't just go, well, fuck it, let's go home. I absolutely loved the first time that like, do you want to send in the backup party members? Yes, and every game should have that option. If you're giving me 9 party members, let me use 9 party members. It makes no sense to have 3, they die, whoops, game over. That's stupid, and I hate it. It doesn't make sense. The other 6 shouldn't just be sitting on their ass watching, going, I guess we get to go home now, suckers. It's dumb. I hate it. Absolutely loved it. It's one of those things that I think just completely changes the context of a game, and it just completely like actually lets you live in this game and make sense. And it's not that thing just hanging in the back of my brain of like, well, Vivi died, but I don't know. I guess Zidane's just going home. It was not important to him after that.
It's really cool when they bring in your second crew and it says the last stand of
Yes.
Expedition 33. One thing I do want to point out really quick is I love the text, the flavor text they do in this
Yeah.
of just like of that, and then whenever you press when a battle's over, instead of just press X to continue, it's X we continue.
Hmm.
I can't tell you how much I read that we continue. I was like, I fucking love that. Like, because like, especially when the characters, especially, well, it's what's really cool because it's the motto for the characters.
Yeah.
And then it's really cool doing a really hard boss fight, pressing X, we continue after you beat that fight. It's like, fuck yeah, we continue. Or there's a huge tragic story moment and you're like, we continue. It's just like, it's so cool how you think about that we continue every time a battle's over. I just really love that. And like there's some other like little writing things that you wouldn't like really expect where it could be like a normal word like item or whatever. They like tweak it just a bit to be like, oh, that's kind of neat. Yeah. We ready to talk about the parrying and dodging? Are we ready to tackle that one?
All right. So this was my heart out. I think it might have been the end of Act 1. I don't even remember how far I made it into this stupid thing. It was
the boss of the Act 1, I think.
I'm pretty sure it's the Act 1 button where I literally put like an hour and 20 minutes into this and went, this is the dumbest game I've ever played. Turned it down to easy, died 2 more times, and then beat the boss on easy. I hate the block and parry system in this game more than any system in any other game ever. I am dumb when it comes to this stuff. It's not my thing.
You are like weirdly dumb about, not dumb about this, but like there's another rhythm game because that you've played. To be clear, you are like a Rock Band Guitar Hero expert, but I sent you some rhythm games where they didn't have the buttons.
I can't do it.
Like Hi-Fi Rush. You couldn't.
I can't do
Hi-Fi Rush either. Could you?
No.
Yeah.
I think it's like I have like no actual music rhythm. Like if you see me give me a visual pattern, I can do it. But if you just give me like a like memorization pattern with no visual cues or no audio cues, or like if only like read an animation or of only listen to the audio, I can't do it to save my life. Like I Rock Band like 1, 2, and 3. I beat drums on expert. I beat guitar on expert, bass guitar on expert, all that shit. Like absolutely loved it. Great fun. This game wrecked me. Like there were bosses where on easy. And I went and looked up guides. I was like, am I just like ridiculously under level? It's like, nope, I'm pretty on par for level, maybe 1 or 2 below. And I am getting destroyed because even on easy, where it opens that window up so you could drive a truck through it, I still couldn't hit a damn parry to save my life.
Yeah, honestly, I the way that you feel about this game is the way I felt about Sekiro, because like I love Souls game and everyone's like Sekiro's the best game ever, and I play that game, I just like had a miserable time playing that game like the entire way through. I got to the final boss and I was like, I don't even want to do this. I just like on the final boss, like I think I don't like this game at all.
Yep.
And so I felt about Sekiro, but it's like it's insane because like all this stuff that Sekiro's doing, I really do enjoy.
Yes.
I just don't like that gameplay aspect at all. I mean, from the other perspective, I love that parry system, and it's because, and I'm sure people who followed us for the last many years of doing this, you may know that I just want to block in a turn-based game. That's like my biggest pet peeve with like turn-based games and stuff. It's like I just want to be able to block. I don't like the systems in traditional JRPGs of buffing your characters. I think it's like I hate because it always feels like I'm wasting a turn to put a shield on my character. I'm wasting a turn to get like my character's like whatever anti-venom or whatever it is. It just felt like I was always wasting turns to buff. So I didn't like those systems. So in place of that buff system, every turn you can either dodge or parry attacks. And to be fair, like this is gonna sound really dumb. Like it does feel like a turn-based Souls game. And I don't mean that like, oh, it's like a Souls like, but like really how the attack patterns are very similar to how like Souls bosses attack.
Which I also can't play.
Like, okay. Yeah, no, I know actually that made me realize like, oh, that's maybe why you can't do Souls games. But it's a lot of like reading the enemies, like swipe, hold, swipe. And like, I'm so used to that because I played like so many games that are like that like I really enjoyed that parry system because it really felt like the game, like it's what it's called. They even actually have a skill in the game called Glass Cannon. It's called Glass Cannon Game Design, which I fucking love. Glass Cannon Game Design. I think the best one that does it is maybe Kingdom Hearts 2 Critical Mode. But what the idea is that you have really overpowered characters, but you can also go down really quickly. Mm-hmm. So if you don't learn that dodge and parry system, your characters will go down quickly. If you do master those systems, though, you can really buff up your characters almost immediately. So like by the end, I would do a parry it would set off like 5 or 6 different buffs. I would do triple damage to the guy. All my characters would heal. They'd all of a sudden get like all these like action points and stuff. And it's like so fucking satisfying to have gotten good at that system. If you don't, but like you have to, you just have to do that to play this game.
The game,
and I just know yeah.
The game is designed that is required. Like,
yeah, yes, they're assuming that you are doing some X percentage of damage and X percentage of healing to your characters. You're hitting like some percentage of that parries. Yep. So I was hitting like a lot of them. So I was doing super overpowered the entire time. I actually thought about bumping up the difficulty. It ended up being hard enough. But that's because I got really good at that system. So like that was real. I thought that was like super rewarding and super fun. Again, the game completely breaks down if you cannot do that.
Yes, and that's where I was. And it was just, I had skills. I had whole little like buff things that you could get that you could assign. Pictos.
Yes, the Pictos. Oh, yeah, that's almost too complicated to get into.
I don't want to get into it, but like I had all of these, and it's like, oh yeah, like a parry does this, and it adds this, and I had this weapon, and it's like, but I can't parry even on easy, where it's like, you just hit it within it was so frustrating because it's like I have the character spec'd out perfectly. I'm at the right level. Yeah. Like if this was any other turn-based game, I'd be rolling through this thing. But because it's like really what you're fighting is you're fighting the boss with the assumption that you have an extra like 3 health bars because you're going to avoid so much damage because of dodges and parries. That basically it's like, if these couple attacks land sequentially, you're done. Like, because we're assuming that of these 4 attacks, you're going to dodge or parry 3 out of the 4. And if you only dodge or parry 1 out of the 4, tough shit, try again.
Yeah. Yeah, I think though and that's the thing, you need to be good at both. Because I think like even if you're like the parry god, I don't think you'd have as much fun if you didn't align up like the background stuff, like the background JRPG stuff of like getting your characters to do all those different things during that. So I think that's why I liked it, because it was both, you need to be good at that background stuff plus be good at that action sort of stuff. But that's the thing, it's like so weird that that's not an accessibility thing. Like
I was waiting for it to just be like auto parry. Come on, auto parry.
Well, you don't even need an auto parry. You just need to have like
I needed an auto parry.
Okay, that's fair. But like, or you could just like widen the window or something like that. Like just like some window widening thing. Because like, I thought that was kind of ridiculous. I mean, but like I loved every fight in this game. I think that that system really benefits for is hard boss battles, because the thing that always, one of the other big annoyances I have with JRPGs is I didn't like when I ran into an enemy where I didn't have the stats to fight them, but I had the skills to do it. So for example, like I had my characters I find it JRPGs very frustrating. These characters I should be able to take this character out. I understand how this mechanic works, all this stuff, but my characters aren't doing enough damage. But with that parry system, because that parry gives you so much more damage and certain things, like I can go into fights not worried if I'm under leveled or not, because I know it's like, hey, I could this battle might just be a little bit longer if I'm good at these parries, but I can still go through it. So like I felt like going into some of the harder fights, I'm like, fuck yeah, let's go, as opposed to like but I have to grind for this one. That all falls apart near the end with some of the end game stuff where you do have to grind like a lot to do some of the end game stuff. So I didn't do too much of that, but that was I think that both that parry system is solving the 2 issues I have of I don't like buffing characters. I think that feels like wasting turns. I like to be able to block. And I like to be able to have my skills overcome my stats. So I think to me, it's solving a lot of issues that I have with JRPGs and that's why I really enjoyed it.
And I think all of those reasons are why I didn't, because it's like, this is not, and that's where, again, I think it does several amazing things for the genre. It's out of nowhere. It's like, okay, if this is the game that's going to get people to understand that turn-based games can be fun, fantastic. Because it's like, okay, this is shining so much of a good light on this genre, on these systems, on the way this game plays, the story mechanics, all these things that, frankly, like you said earlier, like they exist in other games. They just kind of created an amalgamation and took some trace and played with it a little bit. Yeah. But it just sucks that it's like, I don't like it. Like, and it just sucks that it's like, I built it. Like, I'll go grind a little bit. Like, okay, like I got my characters buffed. I got my buff set. I got my I should be able to walk through the fight. And it's like, nope, shit, I missed the window again. All right, well, reset this. It was so infuriating. and that's where I kind of wanted to start with, where it's like, I love this game. I love what it's doing. It's doing so many good things for this genre that I absolutely love.
Yeah.
But it's just, I think it's a struggle for me because it's like, this is the game that everybody's gonna be like, oh, JRPGs are cool. And I'm like,
Yeah. Yeah.
fuck that game. Like, you know, like it's just weird
It's
dichotomy in my
funny.
head that's just messing with me. But
That's tough. Yeah. No, I get it. Yeah. And again, like that's exactly how I felt about Sekiro. So it's
yeah,
just like there's these games that should like they should be great for you, and then they just aren't, and that just makes it feel so much worse.
exactly,
um,
exactly.
and the thing is, like, I really do want to talk about the story because, like, the story and the characters I thought were like really, really cool. I really love how the story goes. So hopefully, we'll talk more about that in like the spoiler cast
Yeah,
stuff because I think that's like so strong.
absolutely.
That was actually my biggest concern going into this thing, is like I feel like with indie JR, it's not indie, but like, you know, indie-ish JRPGs, they never have that gravitas of like a Final Fantasy game. I felt like this one
This
did,
did.
and that's like just so rare. I feel like with like smaller games like that it feels like this very easily could have been Final Fantasy 16 in certain ways.
Yes.
That if you just like made a few tweaks, this could have been a Final Fantasy game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And along those notes, I didn't bring it up either, but the character conversations that you have at camp, that's a very
Yeah.
classic like JRPG trope, and it's some of the best. The way the camp is handled in this is so good. So we'll get into some of that when we talk spoilers and story beats and all that stuff. We'll do a spoiler discussion on this as well.
One thing I do want to say real quick before we end, I think Renoir is like such a fucking cool villain. We'll talk more about spoiler stuff, blah blah blah. But like honestly, legit one of my favorite like video game villains, like period. I thought that character was so cool, so freaking scary, and had like once you understood the character, also had some like had like really good answers to why they were doing the things they were
Yep.
doing. It's just like I freaking love that villain character, and he
Mhm.
is so much scarier than like Sephiroth is in any of the Final Fantasy VII remake stuff. But and that's I just really appreciate him for that.
We'll discuss in our spoiler cast because he is very cool. He is very
funny.
cool, but you're
Yeah.
not quite that sold on him. But yeah, we'll have a story discussion on this as well. But we are Workforce Gaming. Subscribe to our channel. Leave a comment below. There's links to Sports and Coffee as well. We'll see you later.
Bye.